the other day, it's going to be daily roster management, and you guys figure out how to really rotate these three goalies. I know the other day you mentioned that with Jack Quinn, this isn't an ideal scenario, but so how do you communicate that to Jack that it's just a juggling act right now with everybody else?
I mean, you communicate it as best you can. Jack is, what you rely on now is relationships you've built with him, primarily the understanding and feel he has that we are very engaged in his development. We believe in him, his abilities right now and his potential day by day. And this fits. It's okay. Again, we're juggling roster spots. We have a need to it. We lost Fitzgerald on waivers yesterday. Obviously, no one wants to lose players, but you've also got to manage. You only have 23 spots, and so today, the management of that fits with Jack being put on that transaction with Jack, because both he and Peterka will remain out tonight, and in all likelihood play the next game. I think it's beneficial for players at times, and most of the times it fits in a category of a young guy, to step back for more than one game. I think the first game you have a different set of emotions than getting past the first game, and you can pick up different things, and we can work with them on different things through the course of a couple days. So we've seen it work with many players, obviously Peyton Krebs being one of them, Quinn another one already this year. It's just, I'll reference again, when the players go home in the summertime, like we saw Dylan Cousins at his age, or Rasmus Dahlin, the fact that they can go home and breathe and get out of the heat that's an NHL regular season, they improve immensely, because they can just find a calm. And so when you have the opportunity to do that with young guys during the regular season, which you normally don't, it can be a real good bonus, and we've seen that.
In Samuelson's case, he didn't play the last 7.5 minutes last game. Was there an injury, or did you just feel that was a night he wasn't going?
Well, good question. The game scenario, as I remember and recall, and you say it was 7 minutes. I wouldn't know the exact minutes, but we had a power play with 5 minutes left or so. Then we were looking at 3 minutes or left, pulling a goalie. So we're down by 2 goals in a real offensive position. I think Clegg probably got a few more minutes, but it was in the moment the other night with all players who's going that is maybe feeling it, and specifically to our needs. We needed a little bit more offensive go at that point, so I would guess Klager got a little bit more ice time at that time, and Sammy didn't, and pretty much decisions went along that line. So to answer the question of whether it was injury or not, no.
This, going back to Quinn and this whole situation, this is something these guys know to not take to heart, correct, when it comes to sending him down and whatnot, right?
You hope they know that it's not to take it to heart, and that's why I mentioned at the outset when Lance asked the question, when you have to do things like this, it's what type of relationship do you have with your players and your team, and what type of communication have you had from the outset. And I will reiterate that Jack, we believe, has a feel and understanding for how much we believe in him, how much we know he's capable now to a certain level, but going to be far more capable as we move along in his career and he develops, and we're engaged in that development. So. Yeah, I think it's hard if you don't have good communication, and these guys are left to with a lot of gray and say, why me? What's happening? Is this a negative? Is there things in this I should be reading? And they're trying to read between the lines. So we want to get rid of that. And again, that's where I feel Kevin does an amazing job with communication. And sometimes it's not easy communication, but it's simple and direct, and we don't want to make a big deal of it. Things that shouldn't be made a big deal of, and this is a young player. We have young players. We're the youngest team in the league, and let's not get worried about stuff. Let's keep pushing forward.
You know, you probably would have been considering sitting them anyway if you didn't have the roster management thing. You just think the two of them get a little bit of the cliche wall here, 40 games in?
I do. I think they and they were still, you know, if I date back to 2 games ago, they were still generating. They were still showing the skill. There was still opportunity for them to make a play and whatever. They just didn't do it. They just didn't finish. So the real positive side of it is you could see that the opposing team still was having lots of trouble based on their skill level. I think based on potential fatigue, their ability to execute, to just finish it off, you know, hit the net instead of miss their scoring area. I think that's where you saw the fatigue. I think they showed signs of fatigue, which is natural for anybody. But when you have a younger player and there's fatigue, they don't know how to offset it. They don't know how to change their game a lot of times. I shouldn't say that it's foolproof for everybody, but what we saw and felt with JJ and Quinner was that this is a great moment to give them an opportunity to recharge and break that rhythm which has become a grind or looked like that. So yeah, so they were subject to that, and it worked out. And again, it's Aspie and Vinny. I thought they played real well the other day. It's also, you know, when we looked at this at the outset, we said, if we are going to do this, we felt we wanted these guys in for a couple games too. On the other side, we just felt they've practiced hard, they've stayed committed, dedicated. We know they're capable guys. There just hasn't been roster spots for them. So I feel a lot better putting them in a couple games in a row than just one game with the duration they've stayed out. So it just worked out perfect with the ultimate goal. We still feel, you know, we can win with the lineup we have, obviously, because that's the number one objective, and the number two objective is continue to get better. And those are two objectives that I think we will not lose sight of, and they fit this scenario at this time.
Which goalie is going to back up tonight?
Comrie will back up. Upi will play.
With Luukkonen, it was a short period of time. He was ill. I don't know if there was time for him to get into a weakened state or anything like that, but obviously, since you are using him, he basically feels 100%.
He is confident that he is ready to go, and he knows what he knows what NHL level is at this point, and that was the last thing with all of these players. We would not go up to him and say you're in tonight unless we felt okay, that's the type of nudge the player needs. We didn't feel that. We know he knows his body, what he went through over the last 48 hours. You know, energy depletion, potentially losing weight, hydration, whatever. He knows he's back to it and he can do the job that needs to be done. So the situation like what just transpired in the last 48 hours is all on him, with the hindsight he has, knowing what the expectations he needs to meet. And I'm very comfortable with that.
To get Jacob back in right away.
Jacob is back in, and yes, it's important to get Jacob back in. You know, he has had some ups and downs during the year, but he's a young guy, not a lot of NHL experience. You know, where he's gotten in a rut at times, it can be prolonged because he doesn't have the experience to know how to push out of it. And he's going to do it. He's going to push out of it. He's going to be better because of the challenges he's had, and I'm excited to have him back in the lineup tonight.
I know it's always stressed to get the first goal of a game against teams that play as strong defensively as Winnipeg does. You've faced other teams that have done that. How much more important is it to get that first one and to break them out?
It's significantly important for that reason to break them out of it. I mean, there's other ways to break them out of it. Any team that wants to hunker down and play defense or play tight, but it's a benefit to do it and not have to have the intent to do it. I guess you can stay in a rhythm, but you know, either way, it's our guys have obviously been good at coming back, and you know, we had to get Boston, Washington, and Minnesota, who are 3 great defensive teams in my estimation, out of hunkering down within the last 10 minutes a game. So I'm confident our guys can do it. I think for us, you know, I think we got in our head over the last couple games. I think our guys take it to heart. We felt they lost a game 2 games ago that, you know, left them reeling a little bit, and they didn't have time to recalibrate. And you know, I think it bled into the next night in not a positive way from, you know, from certain standpoints. And you know, we played with a little hesitation, a little bit of fear. We got to get rid of that. So I don't, you know, first goal of the game or not, that's how we need to play. We can't worry about and worry about things and hesitate, or think we have, you know, we're down a goal, so we're in trouble. We just can't have that mentality, and I think that creeped in over the last couple games. So that's a big one for us to get back to that mentality that we've seen so much. And you can, you know, people watch us play. When we're playing with passion, and you see the passion that we can play with, we're playing without fear, without worry about final outcome, and we're immersed in the moment. When you see us, and it appears we're not playing with passion, we have some hesitation, we have some fear, some doubt, and it goes hand in hand. It is clear as day, and so that's one thing. Now we need to look in the mirror really fast and correct that when that happens. We're not a good team when that happens.
Donnie, I know you get asked a little lot, but what stands out most about Tage in his day-to-day preparation, his ability to take his game to that next level?
That's what stands out day to day. This is a guy. Obviously, you haven't seen him much, and specifically behind the scenes, you haven't seen him. He behind the scenes every day, through all the adversity he's challenged and doubt that the outside hockey world has had on him for the last 3-4 years in a very difficult trade. He kept doing the right things every day. He looked within himself. He self-evaluated very well, and he targeted ways to become better every single day, off season and in season. And so he has finally broken a threshold and reaping the rewards of all that work that he put in consistently. And it's all about habits. Anybody that you hear any coaches symposium speak, it's about daily habits, and he's got those in order.
How big a benefit is it for you to have that relationship that dates back to the program where he's come from, that side?
Yeah, very big. I mean, we went through some challenging times when he was with us. He was a very he was a guy that was, you know, we had Austin Matthews and Matthew Tkachuk and Clayton Keller, and we had some prolific talent on that team. I'm missing a ton more, where he was down even in slots. We had Troy Terry on that team and Jordan Greenway, so he was third, fourth line player in that bunch, and you know, he didn't get the special teams time and then whatever. But we had lots of conversations when he was that age, and talks of, hey, these guys they're not better than you long term. They're just not. Don't ever buy into that, even if they're getting a little bit more ice time or situation time now. And I lived that with him, doing the same thing that we're talking about with our young guys now, that just because someone's playing ahead of you today doesn't mean they're actually going to be ahead of you tomorrow. And stay on it. So we had lots of talks, you know, over that span when we were together at the national team, and when we arrived here, and I arrived here and we were together here. So to see him break that threshold and become a number one center in the NHL is rewarding for me too, knowing the path the battle he had along the path.